Thank you, Ting, for your not boring talk. Um, Before I ask for questions, I want to pick up on boring and tell a story about boring. So when I first started practicing at Cambridge Zen Center in Massachusetts, and every Wednesday night they had an optional double sit, and everyone would leave the room except me and the person leading practice after the first sit. And so the person leading practice was always very upset when they saw me because they they knew that they had to stay. You know, if I wasn't there, then they wouldn't have to stay. But I was there, so they had to stay. So nobody was happy to see me on Wednesday nights. And I would sit there, and it was on a ground that sloped. So the Dharma room was in the back of the house, and that meant that it sloped down. So there was quite a drop off from the window. And I would always try to sit facing a window, even though, of course, I wasn't supposed to be looking out. I was supposed to be looking down, but somehow I really liked knowing that the window was there. And I'd sit facing this window in the second sit, and it would be really boring. And I would sit there and I'd be so bored. You know, boredom is like one of the worst things. And I would be so bored that I think to myself, not I could leave, not that I didn't have to be there. I just think to myself, I could smash this glass and jump down, which is crazy. But it's like boredom, you know, it just like takes over us. And what I knew is that I really had to sit through that boredom. That was the point. The point was not following my desire mind, not following the mind that does not want to be bored, but sitting there. So whether I was bored or whether I was not bored, I was going to sit there. It didn't matter. I mean, it did matter. I was bored. I was really unhappy about being bored, but it didn't matter. The thing was just to sit through it. And that's freedom. Freedom is not being pulled around by stuff. You know, another time I was sitting a 7-day retreat at Providence Zen Center fairly early on. I'd been practicing maybe about 2 years, and there was a lot of people there. There was about 30 people in the Dharma room, and we were practicing really hard. And then there was a fly. And this fly decided that our faces were the things that it wanted to walk on. And so we're sitting there, and of course nobody's moving because it's really a good idea not to move. You know, I always tell people, you know, nobody ever died of an itch. So when you're, you know, it's okay to scratch yourself most of the time when you itch, but if you're sitting and you itch, don't scratch it. Because nobody ever died of an itch. You just sit there and it itches, and then you know what happens? It goes away. Or maybe it doesn't go away. That's okay. You just sit there with your practice, whatever your practice is, counting your breaths, mantra, whatever it is, great question. You just sit there with your practice and it's okay, you know? So this fly is walking around. And, you know, you're not supposed to look at anybody, right? Your eyes are supposed to be dim, but every now and then you can't help, okay, where is the fly now, you know? And then all of a sudden the fly is right on my forehead, and you know my hair's kind of funky now because I'm not getting haircuts because of COVID. But you know I didn't have it's, you know, it's right here. It's like right here, and it's walking around, and I'm not moving. You know, it's like I don't dare move. I'd lose face if I moved. Like everyone's really still, and the fly's walking on everyone else's face. So you know, and I'm just sitting there, and it was really interesting because you know what? It was just a fly moving on my face. You know, that's all it was. No need to do anything. Eventually it got bored and it moved away to another face or arm or leg or whatever it was doing. So yeah, so this practice, and it's hard to do at home because, you know, we're in our comfortable surroundings. I mean, you can't see my, you know, where I am, but I'm actually in my office, and I have a piano over there and bookshelves over there and my desk over there. You know, I have a little glass of water here, which I'm allowed to drink because I'm a speaker. But you know, it's really comfy, and I want to encourage all of us to keep that really strong mind. That you know, when things start hurting, when things start itching, when we start getting bored, to just sit there through that. That's a very, very powerful part of practice. And when we're in pain, which sometimes happens, we actually have a form for that. And the form is to put your hands like this, to do a little bow, and then just to stand up behind or next to your meditation cushion. And then when you're ready, to sit back down again. So instead of wiggling, because wiggling gets you nowhere. You wiggle to help one thing and then another thing starts hurting. But if you find yourself sitting and you just, your body really is in pain and you really need to move, I encourage you to try this form, or just put your hands like this, little bow. You stand up next to wherever you're sitting, and then when you're ready, you sit down again. It's all to really attain this true freedom, this real freedom, freedom from life and death. That's what this practice is, half of what this practice is about. The other half, of course, is helping everyone around us, alleviating suffering. So with that little mini Dharma talk, are there any questions? Please unmute yourself if you have a question. You won't appear, only your voice. No questions? Surely someone has a question.
I just have a comment. I was fortunate to be part of the 21-day challenge, and hearing about boredom and slides and sitting, I found bowing very, very helpful, because there's such a big hindrance, oh, it's such a big physical effort. Oh, my knees won't stand it. I still can't do 108 bows, but I moved up to 50 or 60 and did the rest standing. So, your mind makes this, and once you just do it, as you said, it's helpful to have faith that you're gonna have pain, but it's not gonna permanently stop you. So I do think sometimes you just have to do it with the practice, with the pain, with the boredom. And bowing taught me that in these 21 days.
Thank you, Max. And thank you for giving me a reason to talk about bowing. Yeah, bowing is amazing. So this is prostrations. So I'm going to actually try to, actually, no, I can't show you one because you will only see a part of my body at a time. If you don't know what a prostration is like, you can go to quantumzen.org. No, you have to look up Quantum Zen prostrations, and that will take you to the page which shows you, it's not a video, but it shows you how to do prostrations. And I believe that there are videos floating around that I hope are posted and made public about how to do prostrations. So what prostrations do is let me see if I can do this. At the bottom of a prostration, when you're at the bottom of a prostration, you'll have to see the whole form, but when you're at the bottom of a prostration, you're like this. I don't know, can you guys see? Well, I can't hear because you're all muted. So your head is down like this, and then you come up to a complete standing position. And this is biologically wired into us. So people talk about prostrations. You're not prostrating to anything. You're not like prostrating to the Buddha, even if you're in front of a Buddha statue. Some people say it's your small self prostrating to your big self. That's the way some people put it. But the way I experience it, and I really love prostrations. I should say that every New Year's Day, we won't do it this year, probably because of COVID, but for years, and So Young Kim, who is here somewhere, was the one who got us started. We do 500 prostrations together. It's really great. That's how we greet the new year. In Korea, if you have some kind of problem, like you're depressed or you lost your job, or you're agitated about something, and you go to some kind of Zen teacher, they'll say to you, do 1,000 prostrations a day. Yeah, that'll work. You know, it'll do it. So prostrations. So it's like these apes, and what happens is, you're standing up really tall and strong, and then you get all the way down, and that's the position of complete surrender. If the alpha ape thinks you're a threat and he starts threatening you, what you're going to do is you're going to get in that position to show him that you're not a threat. So you go from this, tall and strong down to total surrender, and then up again, and then down again, and then up again, and then down again. And it's like you get rewired. It's like, it's such a strong, strong practice. And there's all kinds of, intellectual stuff people make of this, like Bao 57 means such and such sin, and Bao, 43 means that sin. But you don't have to worry about it. In fact, don't do that. Just do it. If you do prostrations, and I encourage people to do it, just 100% completely do it. And yeah, you start off maybe with 3, maybe with 9, then you work your way up to 27. If you can do 27, you can usually do 108. When I broke my hip and I had to do it sitting in a chair, I just sit in a chair, up, down, up, down. But at the bottom, your hands could do like this. In some traditions, your hands go up, but ours we just go like that. I'm sorry, ours we just go like that and then back again, over by your ears. So if your head's like this, your hands will be like that. Anyway, so prostrations are this amazingly strong and wonderful practice. And yeah, the first time you do 108, and you can do standing bows, as Max said, if you because sometimes you really can't do them. You have physical problems and you just can't do the whole 108. What I always recommend is if you know you can't do the 108, then do like maybe you bow on the third one. So you do a standing bow, prostration, standing bow, prostration. Maybe you do that like every other one. You sort of work your way up. Maybe you do like 27 prostrations and 27 stand. You figure out your own way to do it. But yeah, so I really recommend this practice to people. I can't praise it highly enough. Also, if you have small children, it's a fantastic practice because if you're sitting in meditation, and what they see is a lap. And they see a lap, and they say, I'm going to go sit on mommy's lap. But if you're prostrating, they say to themselves, oh, mommy's busy. So when our son was a toddler, my essential home practice was prostrations, because if I tried to sit, he would see a lap. So it has a certain practical virtue too. So that's what I have to say about prostrations. Are there any other questions? We have time for just one more question. Are there any other questions?
Judy, may I follow up with a question about prostrations, about based on my experience with, because I know that extra bowing can, it's been recommended to me by teachers and other students. And there was a period back in the spring when I began doing extra bows and was for 3 or 4 months doing 5 sets of bows per day.
Mm-hmm.
And the first several days was indeed this, it's like a power charging of
Mm-hmm.
my practice. And then I quickly became very adept at spacing out during bows and doing all the, my mind going to all the same places it would go in sitting meditation. I became very good at doing my budget, my shopping list, my, all of my life planning. Well, numbers screw me up. It's hard to count the bows and do your budget, but otherwise I was doing everything but being present for the bows. And so then I tried Kwanseum Bosal when my forehead touched the floor, Kwanseum Bosal,
Mm-hmm.
come back up, count out loud. I was playing with it, trying to find a way to get myself into it. But I think I was evading. I think I was just going through the motions. Do you have any advice for how to, whether we're doing 500 or 50 or even three bows. You can still evade. How do we really bring ourselves to it?
Yeah, so the mind can really evade. We can evade anything. It's amazing. I actually have a very hard time having coherent thinking during prostrations, so I'm very lucky. I know I have known a few other people who said to me what you said. They said, "Oh, you know, when I do bows, I start like thinking about my work and stuff like that." And I say, "You do? I can't do that." But it's the same for everything. Pay attention to what you're doing. You know, you might try paying, you know, bows are physical. You might try paying attention as if you were a dancer or an athlete. You know how dancers and athletes, they really have to pay attention to their body, to how they live in their body. I have a nephew who's a circus guy. He he went to McGill, and after McGill, he went to the National Circus School in Montreal, which is a very big deal. And then he was a circus performer for a number of years, and now he's a circus teacher of children. And he he invited us to his graduation ceremony, and the graduation ceremony at the National Circus School in Montreal is performance. And these kids, you know, they were all like in their, you know, early to mid 20s. They were so absolutely amazing. And I realized their relationship to their bodies was very, very different from my relationship to my body. So, what my nephew is, he's a juggler, and he's also, I forget what they call the person who stands on the bottom and then all kinds of people climb up on him and make these formations. Or he's on the bottom and he tosses somebody and then he catches somebody. That's his job. So his job is to be really stable on the bottom. And I would watch, you know, what he was doing is these people are like, you know, he has one woman balanced here and another woman balanced here, and you know, God knows what's going on. And I was thinking he has to be so aware of every muscle, every nerve, everything that's going on. Because if he's not, these people are going to fall and hurt themselves, you know? And so that kind of awareness, I mean, we're not trained circus performers as far as I know. I know some of us are trained as dancers, but that kind of awareness, um, and yeah, some of us are athletes too, but you know, that kind of awareness that people have of their bodies, bring some of that awareness to your prostrations. Really feel what's going on. And that's a good thing, you know, even if you don't get distracted during bows, like I don't get distracted during bows, but that doesn't mean I'm paying attention during bows either. It just means that I'm not consciously drifting off somewhere. So when you do prostrations, whether it's fast or whether it's slow, really pay attention to your body, and not in the sense of watching it as an outsider, but in the sense of really inhabiting it. Really inhabit your body. Really be aware of everything that's going on. I mean, you can't name it, right? But just be aware of it and really live in your body, because where else do you live? So try that, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. And now we're out of time, so if you could turn the recording off.